My sister got pregnant, and my parents wanted me to skip college to raise her kids. My uncle rescued me, but we got disowned, and now he sits alone in his dark apartment every night, and I don't know how to save him. I, 21F, need help. My uncle Shane, 34M, basically gave up his entire life so I could go to college 3 years ago. Now he sits in his apartment after work and won't see anyone. He won't admit anything is wrong, but I know it is. I should start from the beginning so this makes sense. My family is big on traditional values. My parents, both 49, are the type who believe parents always know best and children should never question them. My dad especially thinks his word is final on everything. We grew up in a small town where most of my dad's family lives. His parents, his 3 sisters, and their families all live within 15 minutes of each other. Growing up, we saw them constantly. Every Sunday was family dinner. Every holiday was a huge gathering. Football season meant we were at someone's house every single weekend watching games and eating too much food. My mom's family was different. Her parents retired and moved to New Zealand about 10 years ago. Her brother is in the Navy and stationed overseas. Her younger sister Charlotte is only 7 years older than Shane and moved to New Zealand for work around the same time as my grandparents. Because Charlotte and Shane are so close in age, they grew up more like siblings than aunt and nephew. We actually grew up in my maternal grandparents' old house, which they signed over to my parents before they left. Shane is my mom's older brother. He's an accountant at a mid-size firm. He's the kind of guy who reads science fiction novels and builds model trains in his spare time. He played hockey in high school, but you wouldn't know it now. He's quiet and keeps to himself mostly. Before everything happened, he dated someone for 3 years, but they broke up in early 2020. My older sister, Camilla, 29F, is 7 years older than me. She went to community college for a year, but dropped out. She worked retail jobs after that. In March 2020, right before everything shut down for the pandemic, she went to a party. She came home 6 weeks later and told our parents she was pregnant. She had no idea who the father was. It could have been one of 3 guys from that party, and she didn't have contact information for any of them. My parents were furious, but they're also very against abortion. Camilla moved back home since she couldn't afford her apartment anymore anyway. I was a junior in high school at the time. The whole pregnancy happened during lockdown, so I watched Camilla get bigger while I did online school from my bedroom. Camilla had twin girls right after Thanksgiving 2020. I was starting my senior year and working on college applications. I got into State University in January 2021 with a scholarship that covered my full tuition. It's one of the best public universities in the country. I'd worked hard for 4 years to get my grades up for this. I was going to study biomedical engineering. I called Shane right away, and he took me out to celebrate. He was the only one who seemed genuinely excited for me. My parents said all the right things, but something felt off. My dad kept saying we talk about it later. My mom kept changing the subject whenever I brought up dorm rooms or class schedules. May 2021 came around. I was 2 weeks from graduation. My parents sat me down at the kitchen table after dinner one night. My dad did most of the talking. He said I wasn't going to State University. He said Camilla needed to go back to school to finish her degree so she could get a better job and support her daughters. He said someone had to watch the twins while Camilla was in class. He said that someone was going to be me. I asked why Camilla's education was more important than mine. He said Camilla already had children depending on her and needed to be able to provide for. He said I was being selfish for not thinking about my nieces. He said his decision was final and I needed to accept it. I didn't accept it. I yelled. I cried. I asked my mom to say something, but she just sat there looking at her hands. My dad stood up and told me to go to my room and think about my responsibilities to this family. He said we were done discussing it. I texted Shane that night. I told him what happened. He called me immediately. He said that wasn't going to happen. He said he'd figure something out. Over the next few weeks, Shane came over for lunch 3 or 4 times. My parents didn't think anything of it since he'd always visited regularly. While my parents were at work and Camilla was out with the babies, Shane and I made plans. I'd seen posts online about people leaving bad family situations. Shane helped me figure out what documents I needed and where to keep them. He helped me set up a bank account at a different bank than my parents used. He gave me his spare apartment key. On June 15th, I packed 2 suitcases with everything I couldn't replace. I left them in my closet. On June 18th, Shane texted me that he was picking me up for lunch. I brought the suitcases down while my parents were at work. I left a note on the kitchen table. It said I was sorry, but I wasn't going to give up my future. It said I loved them, but I had to go. Shane picked me up at noon. We went to a diner like usual. After we ate, we got in his car and drove 2 hours to his apartment. We didn't go back. My phone started ringing around 3 p.m. It was my dad, then my mom, then Camilla, then my dad again. Shane told me I didn't have to answer if I didn't want to. I let them go to voicemail. My dad left 4 messages. The first one demanded I come home immediately. The second one said Shane had no right to interfere in family business. The third one said I was making a huge mistake. The fourth one said if I didn't come home by 6 p.m., I shouldn't bother coming home at all. I didn't go home. The next few days were bad. My phone wouldn't stop. Texts from my dad saying I was ungrateful and disrespectful. Texts from my aunt saying I was tearing the family apart. Texts from my cousins asking why I was doing this to everyone. My Uncle Nate sent me a long message about how disappointed he was in me. My Uncle Frank said Shane had always been weird, and now he was proving it by stealing me away. Shane told me to block anyone who was being cruel. I blocked most of my dad's side of the family. My mom sent one text that just said she was sorry. Camilla sent a text asking if I was safe. I responded to both of them that I was fine, but I wasn't coming back. By the end of June, my dad had called Shane. Shane put it on speaker so I could hear. My dad called Shane a disgrace. He said Shane had poisoned my mind against the family. He said Shane had destroyed everything. He demanded that Shane bring me back immediately. Shane said, no. My dad said Shane was no longer welcome at any family gatherings, and neither was I. He said we were both cut off. Then he hung up. Shane looked at me after the call ended. He said he'd expected this. He said it was going to be fine. In August, Shane paid the remaining balance on my school fees and drove me to campus. He carried my boxes up to my dorm room. He helped me set everything up. Before he left, he handed me a debit card connected to his account. He said it was for emergencies, but also for anything I needed. He said not to worry about paying him back. He said to just focus on school. That was 3 years ago. Shane has paid for everything my scholarship doesn't cover. Room and board, textbooks, lab fees, groceries. He's never once complained about the cost. He's never made me feel guilty. He just sends the money every semester. I haven't spoken to my parents since I left. I haven't spoken to most of my dad's family either. 2 of my younger cousins reached out after a few months and said they understood why I left. We still talk sometimes. Camilla and I text occasionally. She asks how school is going. She sends pictures of the twins. She doesn't mention our parents much. My mom's side has been completely supportive. My grandparents in New Zealand were proud of me for standing up for myself. Charlotte was furious when she heard what my parents tried to do. The 3 of them have been wonderful. Shane and I flew to New Zealand for Christmas in 2021 and 2022. It was good to see them. It was good to be somewhere I felt wanted. But here's the problem. During this past Christmas visit, Charlotte pulled me aside. She said she was concerned about Shane. She said he seemed different. She said he seemed distant and flat. I'd noticed it too, but I hadn't said anything. Over the past year and a half, Shane has become quieter. He responds to texts, but they're shorter now. When I call him, he sounds tired. When I visit his apartment, he doesn't have much to say. His apartment is clean, but bare. There's no food in his fridge besides basics. His model trains are still in boxes in the corner. He hasn't touched them in over a year. Before everything happened, Shane had a small group of friends. He's naturally quiet and doesn't like big crowds, but his main social life was my dad's family. He went to every Sunday dinner. He went to every football party. He showed up to every holiday gathering and every birthday party. My dad and uncles never seemed particularly warm to him, but Shane kept trying. He'd bring beer to share. He'd help set up tables and chairs. He'd play with all the kids. He wanted to be part of things. Now that's gone. He hasn't been to a family gathering in 3 years. His friends are all married with kids now and don't have much time. He broke up with his girlfriend before the pandemic and hasn't dated anyone since. He goes to work, comes home, and stays in his apartment. On weekends, he goes to the grocery store and does laundry. That's it. Charlotte said Shane needs help. She said he's sinking and doesn't know how to ask anyone to throw him a rope. She said I needed to talk to him because he might actually listen to me. I've tried bringing it up casually. I'll ask how he's doing, and he says fine. I'll ask if he's met anyone new, and he says no. I'll suggest he come visit me at school for a weekend, and he says he's too busy with work. But I know he's not busy. I can hear it in his voice. He's just existing and going through the motions. Shane gave up everything for me. He lost his entire family. He spends a huge chunk of his salary to make sure I can go to school without debt. He never asks for anything in return. He never complains. He just keeps showing up for me while he disappears more and more into himself. I don't know what to do. He's visiting me next weekend. I'm planning to show him this post and all the comments. Maybe if he sees that other people are concerned too, he'll actually accept help. I don't know what else to try. Charlotte agrees with this plan. She said to be gentle but direct. She said Shane needs to know he's not alone even if it feels like he is. I just want to help the person who saved my life. I don't know how to do that when he won't admit anything is wrong. Update 1. Shane came to visit last Saturday. My roommates knew I needed privacy, so they made plans to be out for most of the day. I talked to Charlotte twice that week to make sure I was approaching this the right way. When Shane arrived, he looked the same as always. Jeans and a button-down shirt, hair neat, face clean-shaven, but his eyes looked tired. He's always been a bit pale, but he looked especially washed out. We sat on the couch, and I asked him how things were going. He said fine. I asked about work, and he said it was busy. I asked if he'd done anything fun recently, and he said no. Not really. The conversation felt like pulling teeth. I told him I'd noticed he seemed different lately. I said Charlotte had mentioned the same thing. He was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. He didn't say anything, but the nod was enough. It meant he knew what I was talking about. I pulled out my laptop. I told him I'd written a post about everything that happened 3 years ago. I told him I'd asked for advice on how to help him. I turned the screen toward him so he could read it. He read the title first. Then he put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. I moved closer and put my arm around him. We sat like that for several minutes before he looked up again. We read through the whole post together. Then we read the comments. There were hundreds of them. People calling him brave. People saying he was a good person. People sharing their own stories about family estrangement. People offering suggestions for activities and ways to meet new people. Shane read every single comment. When he finished, he opened a notes app on his phone and started categorizing the suggestions. Outdoor activities, indoor hobby, online community. He was treating it like a project at work. It was very typical of him. I asked about some of the comments that mentioned worse possibility. I needed to know if he was in immediate danger. He promised he wasn't using any substances. He said he drinks beer sometimes, but not excessively. I told him I'd be watching to make sure that stayed true. Then I asked about the other thing, the comments that mentioned not wanting to be alive anymore. He was quiet again. Then he admitted that while he'd never made any plans or taken any steps, he had some bad thoughts. He said he drives around after work most days because he doesn't want to go back to his empty apartment. He said some nights he goes to bed and doesn't care whether he wakes up or not. He said he looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize himself anymore. He said he's scared he's turning into one of those bitter people who end up alone and angry at the world. I asked why he didn't say anything sooner. He said he didn't know how. He said after his girlfriend left and then after losing the family, his entire social structure disappeared. His friends got busy with their own lives. He tried to make new friends, but breaking into existing groups felt impossible. He started going to even more family events than before just to be around people, even though my dad and uncles were never particularly nice to him. When that got cut off, he didn't have anything left. He said the past 3 years have been about going to work, paying my bills, and trying to make it through each day. He said he didn't realize how far down he'd gone until Charlotte and I pointed it out. I asked if me going to school was too much of a financial burden. He immediately said no. He pulled up his bank account on his phone and showed me. He pays my $7,000 per semester out of savings, not from his paycheck. He's not going into debt. He said he wanted me to graduate without loans the same way he did. Then he told me something I hadn't known. I'd always wondered why I didn't qualify for financial aid when my parents clearly didn't have much money. Shane explained that I would have qualified, but my parents refused to fill out the aid forms. They also refused to co-sign any private loans. They'd set it up so the only way I could go to school was if they paid for it, which gave them complete control. That was their plan all along. Shane also told me he still sends money to Camilla every month. He makes sure his nieces have what they need even though he hasn't seen them in 3 years. He said they're innocent in all of this and don't deserve to suffer. I asked him if he'd ever want to reconcile with the family. He said maybe with Camilla and possibly with my mom. Everyone else could go to hell. He pulled up his old text messages from 3 years ago. He'd saved them all. My dad called him a disgrace and said he'd masterminded a plan to destroy the family. My dad demanded Shane return me like I was property he'd stolen. My uncle Nate sent a long message mocking Shane for reading fantasy books and working an office job instead of doing real man's work. My Uncle Frank sent a message threatening to beat Shane up the next time he saw him. My Aunt Qley sent a message so vulgar I can't repeat it here. Shane scrolled through all of them without expression. Then he said at least now he knew how these people really felt about him. But then he showed me messages from my mom. My dad had texted from her phone demanding Shane bring me back immediately. Shane responded that he couldn't do that. He said if he brought me back, I'd never get another chance to leave. My mom texted back that she knew. She said to please take care of me. She said she loved us both. Shane responded that he would take care of me and that he loved her too. I read those messages 3 times. My mom had known what my dad was doing. She'd known it was wrong. She'd helped us without actually helping us. She'd given her blessing in the only way she could without openly defying my dad. Around 5 p.m., my roommates came back. We ordered pizza. Shane was tense at first. He sat straight up on the edge of the couch, and his answers were short and robotic. But my roommate Olivia is good with people. She kept asking him questions and including him in the conversation. After 15 minutes, Shane relaxed. He sat back. He started offering his own stories. By the time we finished eating, he was laughing at something one of my roommates said. After my roommates went to their rooms, I told Shane what I'd noticed. I said he just needed time to warm up in social situations. I said once he got past the initial awkwardness, he was fine. He said that made sense, but he didn't know how to get past that initial awkwardness with strangers. Shane ended up sleeping on our couch that night. The next morning, we had breakfast and talked more. He said the previous day had been good for him. He said he felt better than he had in a long time. I called Charlotte and updated her. She said she'd keep pushing him to get out more and try new things. Before Shane left, we made a plan. He's going to look into activities and groups in his area. He's going to make an effort to leave his apartment on weekends. I told him he also needed to set up at least 2 dating profiles. He groaned but agreed. I'm also going to reach out to his old friends. I want to understand what happened there and see if any of those relationships can be salvaged. Shane said his friends didn't do anything wrong. They just got busy with their own families, but I want to talk to them anyway. Shane drove back to his place Sunday afternoon. Before he left, he thanked me. He said Saturday had been exactly what he needed, even though he hadn't known he needed it. I'm going to check in with him more often now. Not just texts, but actual phone calls and video chats. Charlotte is going to do the same from New Zealand. We're both going to make sure Shane knows he's not as alone as he feels. Update 2. I called Shane's friend Marcus last week. I'd met Marcus a few times over the years at Shane's apartment. They'd been friends since college. I found him on social media and sent a message explaining who I was and asking if we could talk. Marcus called me the next day. He sounded genuinely concerned when I told him I was worried about Shane. He said he'd noticed Shane pulling away over the past few years but didn't know the full story. I gave him an overview of what happened with my family and how Shane had been cut off from everyone. Marcus was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then he said he felt terrible. He said he'd assumed Shane was busy or just going through a phase. He said his wife had asked about Shane several times and suggested they invite him over, but Marcus kept putting it off because life was hectic with 2 young kids. Marcus asked if Shane knew I was calling. I said no. Marcus said he was going to reach out to Shane directly. He said he'd get their other friends involved too. He said they'd all pulled back from each other over the years, but that didn't mean they couldn't fix it. True to his word, Marcus called Shane that weekend. Shane texted me afterwards saying Marcus had invited him to a barbecue the following Saturday. Shane said he was nervous but was going to go. The barbecue apparently went well. Shane stayed for 3 hours. Marcus's wife made sure to introduce him to some of their neighbors who were also there. One of them mentioned a volleyball league that plays at the park on Sunday mornings and said Shane should join them sometime. Shane has been going to that volleyball thing for the past 3 weeks. He says he's terrible at volleyball, but it's fun. He's also been having lunch with Marcus every other week. Charlotte called me yesterday with news. She'd been talking to my mom. Apparently, my mom and Charlotte have been in contact this whole time. Charlotte never mentioned it because she didn't want to put me in an awkward position. My mom told Charlotte that things have gotten worse with my dad over the past year. When my maternal grandparents still lived here, my grandfather was technically the head of household since we lived in his house. My dad deferred to him on most things. After my grandparents moved, my dad's controlling tendencies increased. My mom said it's like he was finally free to be the dictator he always wanted to be. My mom also said Camilla never wanted to go back to school. That was entirely my dad's idea. He'd decided Camilla needed a degree to support her children, and that was that. Camilla wanted to get a job and move out with the twins, but my dad wouldn't allow it. He said she needed to stay home and let him guide her decisions since she'd already proven she couldn't be trusted to make good choices. After Shane and I left, my dad doubled down. He told my mom she wasn't allowed to contact us. He told Camilla the same thing. My mom sent that one text right after I left and then went silent because my dad was monitoring her phone. It was only recently that she'd figured out how to communicate with Charlotte without my dad knowing. My mom wants to see us, but she's scared. My dad has told her that if she goes behind his back to contact Shane or me, he'll make her life miserable. My mom has a job now, but my dad controls their finances. She doesn't have her own bank account. She doesn't have access to the saving. If she left, she'd be starting from nothing. Camilla is in a similar position. She finally finished her associate degree last year. She's working part-time at a medical office while my parents watch the twins. She's saving money in secret to move out, but it's slow going. She's scared my dad will kick her out before she's ready if he finds out she's planning to leave. Charlotte asked if I wanted her to pass along a message to my mom. I said yes. I told Charlotte to tell my mom that I understood and that I wasn't angry at her. I said she didn't need to put herself in danger just to talk to me. I said I'd be here whenever she was ready. Charlotte said my mom cried when she heard that. I also visited my school's financial aid office like several people suggested in the comments. I explained my situation and asked if there was any way to be declared independent. The advisor said it's very difficult to override the dependency status, but she'd look into it. She took detailed notes about my parents refusing to fill out aid forms and me being estranged from them. She said she'd submit the documentation to see if an exception could be made. She said not to get my hopes up, but it was worth trying. If I can be declared independent, Shane wouldn't have to pay as much. That money could go toward him actually living his life instead of just surviving. Shane seems better. Not perfect, but better. He's leaving his apartment on weekends. He's seeing Marcus regularly. He's playing volleyball with strangers every Sunday. He set up 2 dating profiles like I made him promise. He went on one date that didn't go anywhere, but he said it was fine. He said it was good practice. Last week, Shane sent me a picture of his living. He'd finally unpacked his model trains. He'd set up the table and started working on a new layout. It was the first time in 3 years he'd touched them. Charlotte and I are planning to visit Shane next month. We're going to take him out for his birthday. Charlotte is flying from New Zealand specifically for this. She said Shane needs to see that people care enough to make an effort. Things aren't fixed. Shane still has bad days. My family situation is still a mess, but at least movement is happening. At least things aren't as stuck as they were 2 months ago. Update 3. Charlotte came to visit in March for Shane's birthday. The 3 of us spent a weekend together. We went to dinner, walked around the city, and just talked. It was the first time in years that things felt almost normal. During that visit, Charlotte told us she'd been talking to my mom more frequently. My mom had been putting aside small amounts of cash whenever she could. She'd been working extra hours and telling my dad the money was going toward household expenses. She'd saved almost $2,000. In April, my mom made her move. She'd been talking to Camilla for months about both of them leaving at the same time. Camilla had saved up enough for a deposit on a small apartment. My mom took her hidden cash, and one day, while my dad was at work, they loaded up Camilla's car with their essentials and the twins' things. They left a note for my dad saying they'd gone to stay with a friend for a few days, but they didn't say which friend or where. They actually drove to an apartment Camilla had secured 2 towns over. My mom filed for separation the next day. She'd been documenting my dad's controlling behavior for months with Charlotte's help. She'd taken pictures of the bank statements showing she had no access to accounts. She'd saved text messages. She'd recorded some of my dad's rants on her phone. My mom called Shane from her new number. He put it on speaker so I could hear. My mom said she was sorry for everything. She said she should have stood up to my dad years ago. She said she was proud of both of us for being braver than she'd been. Shane didn't say much on the call. After he hung up, he sat on his couch for a long time. Then he got up and started making plans to visit them. 2 weeks later, Shane drove to their new apartment. Camilla texted me photos of the visit. Shane met the twins properly for the first time since they were babies. They're 5 now and didn't remember him. Camilla said they warmed up to him slowly throughout the day. By the time Shane left, one of them was sitting on his lap while he read her a book. My mom and Shane talked for hours that first visit. Shane went back the following weekend, and the weekend after that. He's been seeing them regularly now for the past 3 months. I visited in May. My mom pulled me into a long hug the moment I walked in. Camilla did the same. The twins were shy around me at first, but Camilla told them I was their aunt, and they got excited. They showed me their room and all their toys. They asked if I wanted to play with them. It was strange being there. These were my nieces, but they were essentially strangers to me. I'd missed their entire early childhood. They'd learned to walk and talk, and I hadn't seen any of it. I'd missed birthdays and holidays and ordinary days. That time is gone, and I can't get it back. But I can be there now. I can be someone they know. I can be their aunt, even if I'm 5 years late to the job. My dad tried to contact my mom multiple times, demanding she come back. She blocked his number. He showed up at her work once, and she had security escort him out. He tried to get his family to pressure her, but my mom had blocked all of them too. She was done. The divorce is moving forward. My dad is making it difficult, but my mom's lawyer says he doesn't have much leverage since my mom documented everything. The house is in my maternal grandparents' names still. Technically. They never transferred the deed to my parents. My mom's lawyer contacted them in New Zealand, and they confirmed they wanted my mom to have the house, not my dad. My dad will have to move out. My dad sent Shane a text in June. It said Shane had destroyed the family and would regret it someday. Shane showed me the text and asked if he should respond. I said no. Shane blocked the number. I'm going into my senior year in the fall. The financial aid office approved my independent status after reviewing all the documentation. My scholarship still covers tuition, and now I qualify for grants that cover room and board. Shane doesn't have to pay for school anymore. When I told him, he asked what he was supposed to do with all that extra money now. I told him to buy something nice for himself for once. He said he'd think about it. Shane is dating someone he met through the volleyball. Her name is Stephanie, and she works in marketing. They've been seeing each other for about 6 weeks. He seems tentative about it, but also cautiously optimistic. He brought her to Marcus's house for a barbecue last month, and Marcus texted me afterwards saying she seemed nice. Marcus and the rest of Shane's friend group have made an effort to include him more. They have a standing monthly dinner where they all try to make it. Shane hasn't missed one yet. Shane's apartment looks different now. He's bought new furniture. He's hung up pictures. His model trains take up a whole corner of the living room, and he works on them most evenings. He started going to a model train club that meets twice a month. He says most of the members are retired guys in their 60s, but they've been welcoming. Charlotte is planning to visit again in December. My mom, Camilla, and the twins are going to come to Shane's apartment for Christmas. Shane is nervous about hosting everyone, but also looking forward to it. He's already planning the menu. I'm writing this from my apartment at school. My roommates are moving around in the other room. I have an exam tomorrow that I should be studying for. My phone keeps buzzing with messages from the group chat Shane started with me, Charlotte, my mom, and Camilla. Things aren't perfect. My dad is still out there somewhere, probably angry. I'm still behind on getting to know my nieces. Shane still has days where he doesn't want to leave his apartment. My mom is still figuring out how to be independent after years of being controlled, but we're all moving forward. Shane isn't sitting in the dark anymore. My mom isn't trapped. Camilla has her own place. The twins are growing up in a house where their mother makes her own choices.